A plant exists that produces up to 30 tons of food per acre, contains 42.5% of daily iron requirements in just 100 grams, the highest among common root vegetables, and returns every year without replanting. Native Americans cultivated it for 5,000 years. It survives temperatures down to -30 degrees Celsius. Most grocery stores don't carry it. Jerusalem artichoke represents one of North America's most productive food crops and one of its most obscure. The plant's history reveals what happened when agricultural potential collided with a $25 million pyramid scheme in the 1980s, and why its biological advantages, including severe digestive side effects, have prevented mainstream adoption. Jerusalem artichoke is neither an artichoke nor connected to Jerusalem. Helianthus tuberosus is the underground tuber of a perennial plant related to sunflowers that grows 6 to 10 feet tall with golden yellow flowers. The edible portion resembles a knobby cross between ginger root and a potato. Native Americans cultivated this plant for 5,000 to 6,000 years across eastern North America. Before corn arrived from Mexico, these tubers provided a primary source of carbohydrates. They could be eaten raw or cooked, stored dry through winter, and some tribes fermented them to make wine. The nutritional profile is substantial. 100 grams contains 73 calories with 3.4 milligrams of iron, 42.5% of daily value, and the highest concentration among common root vegetables. It delivers 643 milligrams of potassium per cup, plus vitamin C and B vitamins. The defining characteristic is inulin content, 50 to 60% by dry weight. Inulin is a soluble fiber that functions as a prebiotic, feeding beneficial gut bacteria. It produces minimal blood sugar response, with a glycemic index of 50 compared to potatoes, which rate substantially higher. Studies demonstrate inulin promotes beneficial bacteria like bifidobacteria and lactobacillus. The fermentation byproducts may suppress tumor growth in the colon. Raw, it tastes crisp and sweet like water chestnuts. After frost exposure, it develops a nutty flavor. The sweetness results from inulin converting to fructose during storage. Fructose is 1.5 times sweeter than regular sugar. The plant's agricultural characteristics explain why farmers describe it as nearly indestructible. Jerusalem artichoke operates as a perennial crop. Single planting produces returns for multiple years. The tubers survive winters down to -30 degrees Celsius and remain harvestable in the ground throughout fall and winter. Yield data shows consistent high production. Typical tuber yield reaches 15 tons per acre, ranging from 5 to 25 tons depending on variety. An Oregon study in the 1980s documented an average of 64,000 pounds per acre, 29 tons, without irrigation. Modern high-yield potato regions in Oregon average 53,000 pounds per acre with irrigation support. A 25-square-foot planting produces 100 pounds of tubers. Multiple agricultural sources confirm Jerusalem artichoke generates equivalent or superior caloric output per acre compared to potatoes. In certain regions, it exceeds corn, the world's primary calorie crop. The plant tolerates soil pH between 5.8 and 7.2, withstands drought conditions after establishment, and requires 1 inch of water weekly. Tubers planted 3 to 6 inches deep in early spring yield harvestable crops 120 to 140 days later. The plant produces allelopathic chemicals that suppress weed growth and demonstrates lower nitrogen requirements than competing crops. Ethanol production potential ranges from 1,500 to 11,000 liters per hectare, matching or exceeding corn and sugarcane yields. In the 19th century, French beer production utilized Jerusalem artichoke tubers. Jerusalem artichoke brandy continues production in France and Germany. Global cultivation covers approximately 2.5 million hectares. France alone maintains over 250,000 hectares, producing 7.5 million tons annually, approaching their total potato acreage. The plant demonstrates perennial growth, cold tolerance, drought resistance, high yields, and minimal input requirements. In 1605, French explorer Samuel de Champlain encountered Native Americans at Nauset Harbor, Massachusetts, cultivating roots that resembled artichokes in taste. He transported the plant to France, where it proliferated rapidly across suitable growing regions. By the mid-1600s, it functioned as both human food and livestock feed throughout Europe. The name Jerusalem likely derives from the Italian word girasole, meaning sunflower, corrupted through linguistic transmission into its current English form. The plant provided sustenance for economically disadvantaged families. During World War II, it helped maintain food supplies under Nazi occupation when conventional sources faced severe restriction. Lewis and Clark's expedition consumed the tubers in 1805 during their exploration of what is now North Dakota. The Yanobe plant subsequently declined in North American agriculture after the colonial period ended. In the 1980s, it resurfaced in a context that permanently damaged its commercial reputation. In 1981, during an agricultural crisis that saw interest rates reach 21.5%, American Energy Farming Systems, AEFS, began marketing Jerusalem artichoke as a solution to farm economic distress. Farmers in Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota faced potential financial collapse. AEFS operated under the leadership of evangelical Christians James Dwyer and Fred Hendrickson. They positioned the crop as a biblical solution, describing it as a double-portion crop with projected expansion to 10 million acres within 5 years. Sales staff member Don Sheehan became known for the phrase, "Anoint me with artichokes and set me on fire." AEFS structured operations as a pyramid scheme requiring each participant to recruit 10 additional growers. Initial planning targeted 200 producers. The actual response brought 450 farmers immediately, with cash purchases. Many participants operated on minimal remaining capital. Over 18 months, AEFS collected $25 million to $30 million from approximately 2,500 farmers, 509 from Minnesota, 288 from South Dakota, 81 from North Dakota. No commercial market existed for the product. Company executives diverted corporate funds for personal expenditures. James Dwyer, described by Minnesota Agriculture Commissioner Jim Nichols as someone who always carried his Bible, was operating what Nichols characterized as just a con job. Farmers accumulated storage facilities filled with tubers that deteriorated without buyers. AEFS filed for bankruptcy on May 23, 1983, holding $6 million in unpaid grower obligations. Historian Joseph Amato documented the events in his 1993 book, The Great Jerusalem Artichoke Circus. His analysis concluded, "They played with the hopes of so many farmers who had nothing left to mortgage and took advantage of people already on the road to ruin, and to make it that much worse, threw in religion as their sweetener. They were selling hope, and as it turns out, nothing else." Jim Nichols, Minnesota Agriculture Commissioner from 1983 to 1991, stated, "Farmers were desperate, and when you're desperate, you do foolish things." There was no market for Jerusalem artichokes. It was a total pyramid scheme. The scandal created lasting reputational damage. 2 additional problems exist independent of the fraud. Jerusalem artichoke earned the informal designation fartichoke based on documented digestive effects. As funny as it sounds, this represents a legitimate obstacle to broader consumption. Human digestive systems cannot process inulin. It passes intact to the colon, where bacterial fermentation produces gas. Consumption causes flatulence, bloating, cramping, and belching in many individuals. Clinical nutrition trials administer up to 20 grams of inulin daily without significant adverse effects. Jerusalem artichokes contain up to 30% inulin by fresh weight. An average 3-ounce tuber at 30% concentration delivers 25 grams, exceeding the established tolerance threshold. Standard cooking portions involve multiple tubers. Bob Rastall, professor of food biotechnology in England, explained, "The issue with Jerusalem artichokes is that they can contain a lot of inulin. as much as 30% by fresh weight. It would be easy for a casual diner to consume enough inulin in one serving to cause problems. Samuel de Champlain documented digestive complications in 1605. The Dakota tribe specifically noted flatulence resulting from excessive consumption. Tribes that utilized the tubers during famine periods, including the Huron and Lakota, employed them sparingly. Preparation methods exist that reduce inulin content. Boiling sliced tubers for 15 minutes in lemon juice employs acid hydrolysis to convert inulin to fructose through chemical breakdown. Fermentation-based pickling eliminates gaseous effects. Bacterial action consumes inulin during the preservation process, releasing gas into the container rather than the digestive system. Extended cooking for 12 to 24 hours at 200 degrees Fahrenheit activates enzymes that convert inulin. Cold storage for 1 month or longer reduces inulin concentration. Gradual dietary introduction builds physiological tolerance. Marketing a vegetable known for causing painful digestive distress presents obvious commercial challenges. Each Jerusalem artichoke plant generates 75 to 200 tubers per growing season. Individual tubers produce up to 6 shoots. Tubers remain viable in soil for over 2 years and survive temperatures down to -30 Celsius. Propagation occurs through rhizomes, tubers, and seeds simultaneously. Jerusalem artichoke ranks among the most rapidly expanding invasive species in Central Europe. It creates documented problems along transportation corridors, in grazing areas, and in residential gardens. Harvest operations struggle to locate all tubers due to extensive underground stolen networks. Remaining tubers generate new plants the following season. Volunteer plants function as significant agricultural weeds. Research demonstrates that 4 to 6 shoots per square meter reduce barley yields by 20%. The plant exceeds corn in height. No herbicides carry registration for food crop applications. The most effective management approach involves removing young plants at 4 to 8 inches of height or implementing consistent mowing protocols. Effective control requires 2 to 3 years of sustained intervention. Agricultural operations face substantial complications. Research explicitly notes the plant makes it harder to grow a different culture afterward, since some small tubers usually remain in the ground after harvest. Field dedication to Jerusalem artichoke extends across multiple years, regardless of operator preference. Residential gardeners frequently report regret following initial planting. Standard guidance recommends exclusive use of physical barriers, deep container cultivation, thorough annual harvesting, and continuous monitoring. The USDA excludes sunchoke from production tracking, indicating lower economic significance than mint, taro, or escarole and endive. Standard grocery store distribution remains absent. Availability concentrates in farmers markets and specialty retailers during fall through spring seasons. The market segment focuses on gourmet vegetables for premium dining establishments. Agricultural extension services characterize the seed stock market for Jerusalem artichoke tubers as speculative and should not be relied on as an outlet. Current market stability exists only within limited gourmet vegetable sales. Processing infrastructure development has not materialized. Commodity market establishment has not occurred. The 1980s events created persistent cultural resistance to promotional efforts. Contemporary marketing initiatives risk association with James Dwyer's documented fraud operation. Global market data presents contrasting conditions. The combined artichoke market, encompassing both Globe and Jerusalem varieties, reached $2.87 billion valuation in 2024, with projections indicating $3.64 billion by 2032. Europe maintains 42.86% market share. France operates over 250,000 hectares, generating 7.5 million tons annually. Recent developments demonstrate continued interest. A Croatian company launched a processing facility in Russia during 2022. University of Florida researchers initiated preservation breeding programs in 2024. Russia and China established export protocols. Research continues examining biofuel applications, inulin extraction methods, natural sweetener production for diabetic populations, and clinical trials targeting metabolic syndrome and hypertension treatment. In North America, where the plant originated and sustained 5,000 years of indigenous cultivation, it remains commercially marginal. While North America treats Jerusalem artichoke as commercially unviable, a specialized industrial economy has developed around the plant. The beverage industry has maintained consistent production. In 19th century Germany, Jerusalem artichoke brandy became commercially successful and remains in production today. The high inulin content makes it effective for alcohol production. It produces the same amount of fermentable carbohydrate per acre as sugar beets and more than potatoes. During and after World War I, the British Department of Scientific and Industrial Research demonstrated Jerusalem artichoke could produce viable fuel ethanol at scale. Industrial applications have expanded significantly. The dried tubers contain 73.5% inulin, making them valuable for commercial extraction. Food manufacturers use this inulin as a fiber supplement in processed products worldwide. It functions as the filler that increases fiber counts in packaged foods, the prebiotic supplement sold in health stores, and the IO natural sweetener marketed to diabetics. The livestock industry uses the aerial biomass. The tops, those 4 to 8 pounds per plant, make effective animal feed. When harvested for silage before tuber maturity, fresh weight yields of tops average 27 tons per acre. The herbage contains a rich carbohydrate complex and up to 17% protein with balanced amino acid composition. Studies show that introducing Jerusalem artichoke into feed composition increases the economic efficiency of animal husbandry. The pharmaceutical industry has initiated clinical trials using artichoke extracts to treat metabolic syndrome and hypertension. The anti-inflammatory compounds are being studied for applications in treating rheumatoid arthritis and chronic inflammatory diseases. The leaves and flowers contain bioactive substances, flavonoids, phenolic acids, terpenoids that exhibit antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, anti-tumor, and antibacterial activities. A market exists. It operates through specialized industrial processing, pharmaceutical research, and niche food manufacturing rather than direct consumer sales. The plant was forced into an inappropriate economic model in the 1980s. American farmers attempted to commercialize it as a potato substitute when its actual value lay in industrial processing. A perennial crop produces up to 30 tons per acre, returns annually without replanting, survives extreme cold, requires minimal agricultural inputs, contains higher iron concentrations than any common root vegetable, feeds beneficial gut bacteria, produces minimal blood sugar response, and sustained 5,000 years of successful cultivation. The caloric output per acre could theoretically support urban food requirements on a sustained basis. Standard grocery distribution remains absent. The explanation involves documented consequences rather than mere perception. Digestive complications affect a significant portion of consumers despite available preparation methods. Invasive growth. Characteristics create legitimate ecological and agricultural management concerns. The 1980s pyramid scheme created institutional memory that persists across farming communities 4 decades later. Each identified problem represents an intensified expression of the plant's beneficial characteristics. Invasiveness results from exceptional hardiness and vigor. Digestive effects stem from high prebiotic fiber concentrations. Marketing difficulties arise from properties that fail to align with existing food distribution systems. The relationship is one of active management rather than concealment. The plant operates outside standard agricultural systems, digestive tolerances, and economic frameworks. It demonstrates excessive wildness, productivity, and divergence from conventional crop parameters. Native American populations developed effective management protocols across millennia. They established harvest timing, consumption quantities, preparation methods, and cultivation practices. This accumulated knowledge deteriorated following European colonization. Industrial commercialization attempted through fraudulent schemes in the 1980s failed completely. The result is a nutritionally significant food source that contemporary systems cannot effectively integrate. Jerusalem artichoke occupies a position at the intersection of agriculture, nutrition, economics, and institutional behavior. It embodies characteristics that agricultural policy explicitly prioritizes: high yields, perennial growth, nutritional density, climate resilience, delivered through mechanisms that exceed management capacity. Yields reach invasive levels. Nutritional composition causes digestive distress. Commercial opportunity attracted fraudulent operators. The actual lesson may concern limitations of universal solutions. Not every theoretically optimal crop translates to practical implementation. Sometimes managing abundance presents challenges equivalent to addressing scarcity. Jerusalem artichoke maintains its current status, present in farmers' markets and specialty retail, known primarily to experienced gardeners who implement careful cultivation practices and food enthusiasts willing to experiment with specialized preparation techniques. The perennial high-yield crop capable of supporting urban populations indefinitely remains available, but marginalized because contemporary systems lack frameworks for managing something simultaneously powerful and uncontrollable.